planning board meeting to order. And this is a Zoom public hearing. It is being recorded. Meeting attendees from the planning board are Joe Zagrodnik, myself, Jim Maximowski, Bill Dwyer, Matt Waldrip, and Mark Dunn. And first up for general information, Mr. Dwyer.
First in was Mr. Iser.
Well, good evening, everybody. I sent you a plan last Thursday or Friday, I don't remember which day, regarding some property on Bay Road. If Mr. Dwyer could put that on the screen, that would be extremely helpful.
Yep, just let me see where I put it. And
There it is.
You didn't draw the Zagrodnik squares in there, did you?
I know they fit. So
Yeah.
this is just preliminary discussion, Mark.
Okay.
So, but I wouldn't put anything before you that didn't work with the bylaws. So this property used to be owned by Florence Palmquist. As you can see, it's right across, it's on Bay Road, right across from Moody Bridge Road. There used to be a couple of dilapidated barns in there that have been recently taken down. A Hadley builder / developer has purchased this property and would like to build 3 houses on this property. You can see that lot 1, 2, and 3 have little pink circles on them. Those are perk tests. What I'm doing is showing you that if we put in a actual subdivision road, we can do 4 lots. So I'm here to ask if the board would be interested in entertaining a private way with only 3 lots, taking lot 4 and putting it into some kind of conservation restriction and doing what we've done with other small subdivisions, waiving the subdivision road regulations, etc. And like I said, I'm just here to see what the board's pleasure may or may not be regarding this.
Basic one question, Randy. Looks like lot 1 and 3 could be A&R lots on Bay Road.
Correct.
So we're really only approving 1 additional lot.
Correct.
In theory.
Correct.
Okay. I mean, you're abutting Frank and Norma Kosak's land, which is being farmed. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes. It
Okay,
was
so
in the
it
past.
can
So,
always be a continuation if it was so desired to be that.
yeah, that's true.
Okay, I have no problem with what you wanted. Myself, one person, I have
Gotcha.
no problem.
Okay.
Randy, aquifer protection area?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
200 feet of frontage, 40,000 square feet.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Yep. Now, this is gonna hold your hat, Randy, but I would almost say approve lot 4 as well. You're getting 40,000 square feet, which is, they're huge lots, and just to hold some open space, and there is gonna be a lot of open space with these houses. Why don't we approve lot 4 as well?
Well, if they want to go for just to be consistent, I would say, because whenever we've approved a very small subdivision, we've always had some conservation land.
I agree, and that was not, if this one is kind of a unique situation in that it's an aquifer protection, they got 40,000 square feet, they're big lots, so I'm just throwing that out for discussion.
They're big lot, but there still would be no conservation land kept out of it. That's the only thing that I'm looking at, that's all.
Okay,
But I mean, it's up to the board, whichever, you got 2 opinions. I don't want to force my opinion on anybody or Joe, let everybody else make their 2 cents.
I could go either way. We have approved subdivisions that otherwise comply with the zoning bylaw, with the subdivision regulations, but issued significant waivers. If this were a basically a 4-lot common driveway versus a 3-lot common driveway. I could live with it either way.
Mr. Dunn, Mr. Waldrop, 2 cents?
Well, if I can just tell Randy to hold his hat, I'd say would love to see an affordable unit, but I know there's no,
Okay, well,
that doesn't trigger until you get 6, so.
that's an interesting thought, Mark. I'm supposed to lobby for my clients, but if I will talk to him and say, if you would put in a affordable on lot 4, that this could fly. I mean, that makes some sense. Or I can see if Frank and Norma Kostick would be interested in owning it to extend their farmland. I mean, I can work this a number of ways with him. So whatever you guys think.
Does either approach comply with our bylaw and regulation, whichever way we end up going?
So
We mentioned waivers, Bill. I just didn't know if one needed a waiver or not.
So Matt, let me explain what I'm trying to do. This is the first time before where you're on the board for something like this. So the zoning bylaws dictate the lot size. Subdivision regulations dictate road design. Zoning bylaws are not waivable. The subdivision regulations are waivable. So what I've done in the past is shown the board that if we horse trade. If you don't make my client put in a full-blown subdivision road, which this could happen, we will take some land out and not build a house on it. And so then what happens is we build a private way, town never has to maintain it, and the town gets less housing and some extra open space. So that's what this is all about.
I just throw that out for discussion. Probably we should stick to what Jimmy was saying, what we've done in the past, because, do you want to set a precedent? And this is kind of unusual, just in as much as they're big lots. And
So Matt, the big difference would be the construction of the road. Because to build a road to subdivision standards is an expensive proposition. But if the town is going to accept the road, we want it built to last. And if it's serving 8, 10, 12 house lots, we want it to be sturdy enough to handle that. When you get a situation like this, we can consider excusing the developer from building a full-blown street. Let them basically build a heavy-duty driveway, and we get some housing, which is always a plus. Even affordable is great. Any housing is good in this market. And if you have a situation like this where it's going to be very low traffic, you can live with something that's sturdy enough for an ambulance or a fire truck, but not something that will necessarily support a concrete mixer.
Thank you.
But the big difference is the cost of installing the road, and the town doesn't have to maintain it, Matt. I mean, a subdivision road right now per foot is probably in the order of, I don't know, probably a couple $1,000s a foot.
So it's only 750, Jimmy.
How much?
750.
750?
Yeah.
Well, that's not so bad.
Well, it used to be
But
300.
it's still pricey to put a, whereas a driveway, I mean, you're probably talking way less than half that price.
Yeah, definitely.
So, they spend less, they get a bit more in their pocket. The big advantage to the town is there's a road there with houses that the town doesn't have to maintain. And the town will never accept it, and that's written into the agreement with the developer. And anybody that buys a house on it knows that's a condition. So, It's basically a high-end, like Bill said, it's a heavy-duty driveway. And the places that we've approved them, because the traffic is low, to be honest, the driveways stay in good condition for years and years.
Yeah, I live on one of those streets and my driveway is 22 years old, 23 years old, and it's time to do something with it. It's starting to come apart at the seams, but it's made it this far.
So,
But it's not the town's responsibility to take care of it. It's me and there's 2 other people that have rights to it that would have to share the cost. The town has nothing to do with it.
Randy, one other question. I noticed that the cul-de-sac is built right to the property line, as we generally ask in a full-blown subdivision road. Will this owner own the abutting property?
No. I don't, if we do this and and you let me waive the subdivision regs, I'm not gonna have a cul-de-sac. I'm gonna have a hammerhead or something like that, like I usually do.
Yep.
So that, we can it makes more sense for trucks to back, the fire chief seems to like that. We did.
If this were the particular case that all of a sudden it did abut the neighbor's property, and then all of a sudden the neighbor wanted to utilize that as an extension of a private driveway, then we're creating a little bit more.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Joe. It only abuts the neighboring property on one point.
Okay,
It's not, there's not enough width to do what you're suggesting. So that is not a something you need to worry about.
all right.
okay.
Jimmy, I'll withdraw it. I just threw that out for discussion, and you're probably correct, Jim. We should stick with our guns, what we've done in the past.
I see Randy just recovered from holding his chest there when you said,
Yeah, I had a defib going.
Yeah,
but anyway, yeah. So, I mean, basically what you've drawn with 3 lots, Randy, and number 4 is whatever it's going to be as a conservation or however, I don't think we see a problem with it.
Okay, I'll redesign it. I'll make the lots as small as I can so that we've got the most open space left, and I'll be back.
Okay.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Now I have to go do the real fun, taking care of my 2 grandkids.
Oh,
All right, see you guys later.
bye-bye.
Bye. Next in was Mr. Reedy, and I see that Barry Roberts is here too. So I'm assuming that you're going to do a tag team for us.
You got it. So I've got 2 things. First thing is with Barry. I had sent in a letter from Juliana Kwalik, East Street Commons Condominium Trust Board President. And so East Street Commons is Barry's over 55 development. The master deed in that and declaration of trust in that development required that he turn over control at a certain period of time, which he has done. So there is a new board of trustees who's in control of the condominium. One of the things that they wanted is some documentation vote, something in the minutes from the board, confirming that Barry or the development did not need sidewalks all the way around the entirety of the development. So this is something Barry remembers being in front of you. I want to say at the old senior center, Barry, is that where it was? Pick a number of years ago, 6, 7 years ago, pre-COVID, having the conversation saying, I'm just going to put the sidewalks on the 2-way road and we're not going to do any beyond there. As you'll see in the letter, there was a meeting of the unit owners in Barry, September 10th, 2019, where the unit owners voted to, in fact, do that, right? To say sidewalks only on the 2-way, nothing else in the condominium development. So really all we're asking for is the board to say, yes, that's fine. You're not in violation of any approvals because you don't have them. So that's what we're looking for tonight.
So some of the sidewalks that you want have already been built.
Yes, correct.
And you know, they talked about, remember when Mike Sarzi was on the board, he raised that. And I asked Barry about that, and he said the condominium owners basically said that the traffic is so light, they really didn't see the need to put sidewalks beyond that because, you know, you're going to be taken care of or lose a little bit less than a front yard and on and on and on. And my opinion is if the people that live there don't need the sidewalks, then that's fine.
So the request is not to put in further sidewalks.
Correct. Yeah, just acceptance of the site as it is, you know, not requiring those additional sidewalks.
All right.
So I'll make a motion to waive construction of sidewalks beyond what has already been built.
I would second it.
Okay, before we vote, Bill, you want to write this up? You want me to write it up?
I guess I can write it up as an amendment to the original approval.
Right, just want to make sure who documents it. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Dunn, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Axelowski, aye.
Waldrop, aye.
Zagrodnik, aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Very good.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
The other one that I had is the Hampshire Mall. And so I'll share my screen here. So I've been working with the asset manager for the owner of the mall. As you know, it was sold at foreclosure, and so there is an asset manager. One of the things that we've been looking at is carving out the Trader Joe's. So you've got Russell Street here, plan north, South Maple Street, plan left, and then the mall would be, you know, towards the plan south. I've been working with Randy's office to come up with essentially pad sites, out parcels for the Trader Joe's in the Chase Bank. And so I put this to Bill, because what happens is, I said, you know, access is over something other than our lawful frontage. So that's a special permit from the board. Obviously, A&R endorsement is an A&R endorsement from the board. And then I think this has to be 175 feet because it's a corner lot. So it has frontage on two ways. So we'd extend that, and there's plenty of frontage. So that's not an issue. Where the issue comes is down here, this setback from where we were asking to draw the property line is 16.4 feet. And what is required in the zoning district is 40 feet. And so it would be, I think the only way to do it is a variance. And so Bill had said, well, it's self-created. And so I talked to Randy, and Randy said, let's open it up because it makes sense to put this line where we're putting it to stay off this internal ring road, especially given that this ring road is subject to an operation and maintenance easement where Target is benefited by it. And so, you know, one of the things that we wanted to do was avoid Target's involvement kind of for a host of reasons. And so I wanted to just talk to the board, because if I have to go to the ZBA, I mean, I've done this enough to know if you're not supportive of it, I'm not going anywhere. And so I wanted to get a read from the board. And then also to say, you know, we're not trying to do a bait and switch here to say, oh, great, you know, we are only 16 feet from this property line. And then in the future, if this property is redeveloped, we'll be able to put another building 50 feet from here. So we're actually, you know, gaining 24 feet between buildings. We'd accept the condition that we would have to, if there's ever a building proximate to here, we would set that building back by an additional amount so that the separation between buildings would be the 90 feet that you actually need, right? So we're not trying to play fast and loose and pull a fast one. It's really just like, practically, this is where the lot lines want to be. And then also practically, you know, you bring it out to here to get that 40 foot of rear yard setback, we're involving Target, which we really don't want to involve Target. So that's the conversation of the request. is
Target,
what folks think.
Target or J.C. Penney?
Pardon me?
I mean, J.C. Penney or Target?
No, I mean Target. So, when I came into this after the mall was already built,
Yeah,
the Target is on its own lot. And
Yes,
so Target is benefited by an operation and easement agreement between them and Pyramid Mall. And so there's a lot of there's internal restrictions, there's external restrictions, and this permanent access road is part of that, part of those restrictions.
So I have a
go ahead, Bill.
couple of layers of concern about this. I think this is a situation where your frontage is illusory because you can't access it. The mall as a whole has adequate frontage, but you don't have real frontage in this situation, I don't think, because it's inaccessible. Second thing is you're asking us to create a zoning violation for Target because the required parking will not be on its own parcel anymore.
I think we're okay with parking. We looked at the total parking ratio if we were to carve these parcels out, and I think everything remains compliant. I appreciate back to the non-illusory or illusory access. I think it's worth looking at. I don't think this is a limited access highway, so I think we're probably okay. But I think it does bear. I'll take a further look at that.
If it really came down to it, I don't think, considering what other access you have, I don't think Mass Highway would give you a curb cut in there.
Is that a swale to the
Good
north
portion.
of Trader Joe's?
That's a
Is that
Right here.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm doing it from memory. I think so. And Randy's got something here on this plan unlabeled, but I think it might.
I think Bill's right. You don't have access.
Well, not that we couldn't put a culvert and a crossing, right? I mean, I think I can have a conversation with DOT to say if we ask for a curb cut here, right? Because I've dealt with this elsewhere with other projects with limited access highways like Route 5 and 10, for example, or 116 in certain places where it's just limited access highway so that they won't allow access. And in those, Bill's entirely right. You except getting their approval to actually access, it is illusory access and you can't meet those ANR standards. So I can investigate that a little bit more.
I mean, it's the same thing with what you call it, Chase Bank. I can't imagine Mass Highway would give you a curb cut on either of those two parcels.
they
I guess the question is that, what is the standard if we have the ability to access over something other than our lawful frontage? And I haven't looked at the bylaw to see exactly how you define frontage and if it's.
We have approved lots where you have access across other than frontage. But in almost every, I want to say in every single case, the property owner owned the access. They're asking for access across other than frontage where they don't own the property.
They do own it now, but I think the intent may be to not own it in the future, right? So lot 1, lot 2, and all of this is all owned by whoever owns Pyramid or whoever actually owns this, right? So this is all in common ownership at current. Obviously
But the issue is, if it ever were to change hands, they wouldn't own the access other than the frontage.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Bill, or Jim and Bill, do you remember the situation arose at the the professional building, actually where Bill's office is, near the post office, they already had a extension to put a driveway right at the intersection. And it was not the planning board that turned down that extension right near the traffic light there. It was the state highway department. It was too close to the intersection.
Dr. Witzenberg reminded me of that every time I saw him until he retired.
Moni reminded me all the time too, Bill. You're right. Oh, my God.
Okay, so issues of access, issues of parking, which I feel pretty comfortable with, but still need to address. And then I guess the last, I don't know, Bill, if you have other ones to lob at me, but then the setback pieces is kind of the third.
This may be a inappropriate time to talk about, is this going to help the mall that's in a bankruptcy situation come out of it and be made whole again? Or is that none of our business?
It's passed. The foreclosure went through, so Pyramid has lost any interests in this property.
So who's the banks?
Randy should probably revise his legend because he's not preparing it for Pyramid Mall of Hadley.
Unless it's Newco, but I didn't look at that. So Spinoso Management is who manages this. I want to say Rialto may be the owners. But I'd have to look. But it's not Pyramid. So it's an asset manager, and what they're looking to do is to say, what can we do? And I don't want to say the low-hanging fruit, but the most apparent piece is you've got these two potentially valuable out parcels, Chase and Trader Joe's, where they wanted to advance it to carve them off, I would guess, ostensibly so they can sell them to get back some of, because it's bad debt, but to get back some of the money that the lender has lost to Pyramid.
Yeah, I mean, if we'd like to help them out as much as possible, and where I'm going with this question is that within our bailiwick to do something like that, because, we don't want a dead mall like the old Mountain Farms Mall was referred to. So can we help them out, or is that none of our business?
For all the work that all that's involved with these parcels, they were always represented as not being out parcels, but as being part of the mall as a whole, which was why we could maybe not worry about parking as intently as we would if it was just, I know, example, Trader Joe's often does fill its parking lot and spills over, but often people park on the mall side and cross the ring road to get to Trader Joe's rather than park at the end of the Trader Joe's lot. And all of that's well and good when it's one big parcel. And I understand you have lease lines, but once you start getting into carving out new parcels, then we wouldn't have approved Trader Joe's in that location if that had been.
When Trader Joe's is busy, and that's quite often, their parking lot is nowhere near big enough to support the people that go into that store. They have to park into the mall. There's just not enough. There's not enough vehicle parking.
I've been there and done that.
So at least they're not parking on Route 9, right?
Yeah. Unless they want to take their life in their hands.
We went by a Trader Joe's in Brooklyn on a Saturday. He had at least one, maybe two private duty police officers directing traffic in and out of the parking lot.
You're busy. That and all these are busy places on certain times. Well, they're owned by the same company.
No, brothers.
Oh, yeah, brothers. Okay, same thing. But there's still common ownership, however you want to do it. Yeah. They do well.
Okay. So not an incredibly favorable review. I guess so next steps, I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna have the conversation, say that we had this conversation, some concerns. Some of them seem like hurdles we can potentially get over. I guess as far as insurmountable, or for what I'm hearing this. I'm hearing you're not likely to allow access over somebody else's frontage, even if there's an easement. You wouldn't have approved Trader Joe's if it was standalone, configured this way, because you don't think it has sufficient parking. And we didn't even get to talk about the 16-foot variance. Fair to represent it that way, because obviously they're going to know what's going on.
I'll just repeat what I said about the 16-foot variance. It's a self-inflicted. The mall has the room to give. The fact that you don't want to give a larger parcel subject to such rights as Target may have and other tenants may have is that's your client's business choice.
Right. I guess they could reroute that ring. They could bump it in a bit.
Well,
Yeah, and it may just be a conversation, Mark, right? Once you open up that can of worms, which is, I think, they were hoping that we would come to you and say, hey, doesn't this make a ton of sense? We'd be willing to give this on the back end. Why don't we do it? But it sounds like there may be some other issues. If I can solve the other ones, then maybe I try to solve all of them.
Is there not this is not the final design for South Maple Street, though, is it?
I couldn't tell you that.
Chase Bank was representing to us that the north entrance was going to be relocated further to the south so that it would no longer be directly opposite the north entrance to Mountain Farms Mall.
Yes, I remember that.
I think I remember that too.
Yeah, your good point, Bill.
And I don't know if that U-turn lane was going to stay.
Yeah,
We will check with Randy on that.
You could check with Tom. You could check with Kayla to look at some of the site plans for Chase Bank, and their site plans show the layout or show the proposed layout of the new north entrance to Hampshire Mall.
Okay.
Which might let you pick up some. It might let you pick up some room there.
Yeah. Ultimately inconsequential, though, I think, unless, what I hear is the issues. If I can get access here, that may be the only way you guys are approving an A&R, plus bring this out far enough that I'm not asking for any relief with the variance, right? That's what I'm hearing from the board, is you need actual access onto both of these roads, or to carve off maybe a bigger piece here to go with these lots. And then do they have to be a package deal, right? Like where they both somehow access over this. So we can think through it, but that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, I think that's fair statement.
I think so.
Okay. Thank you. And I'll hang out for the over 55. Probably not a big conversation, but I'll hang out for that.
Okay, next up would be Jonathan Carr.
Mr. Carr, are you there?
Yep, sorry about that. Yep, I'm here.
What can we do for you?
I am hoping to build a pavilion at 295 River Drive, which is would be located behind our farm stand, kind of an open air pavilion over the picnic tables that we have there presently, where we serve hard cider to our customers with our pouring permit. And so I don't know if Mr. Dwyer was able to, I guess, have those files accessible that I sent, which showed Tim Nyhart did the drawing for us of the building. It's a 12 by 72 foot structure, 6 by 6 posts, just no sides, just a canopy on top. It would fit about. Oh yeah, thanks, Mr. Dwyer. That's the kind of the location there. It would be between our existing barn and behind our farm stand, which would be represented by the green dot there. So it'd be well back from the road, at least 75-foot setback from 47 and 25 feet from the neighboring property. So
Where was your parking for this?
Yeah, I'd be interested in having that
the
delineated.
the parking is, you see where it's labeled 12D on the map? There's a field at the front of the lot that we can park about 24 vehicles there.
I think it would be helpful to have that drawn, if you have that anywhere, and showing pedestrian access or.
Well, I guess it's not going to change our capacity in any way. We've been functioning, for the past 2 seasons with this parking layout, and so we're not proposing to kind of increase the amount of people that would be visiting, just really to provide shelter for rain if there's a rain shower during our opening hours. So
This is the proposed structure.
What is your setback for the side?
the side setback is 25 feet from the neighboring parcel.
Okay.
Yeah, the automobile entrance exit, there was some concern last time about the ability to enter and then exit. There was no U-turn ability.
Right. We installed. We have a one-way entrance and a one-way exit that we put in, and that's how it's been operating. There's the entrance at the red dot on the map there, and the exit is not shown, but it would be right where that 175-foot frontage number is, right there, next to 47.
I just think it would be helpful if you showed that on this sketch, as opposed to just a pavilion, because, I mean, it would just make things clearer. And if something changes, at least we have the reference of this. I mean, what you want to do, I think, will be fine, but we can show parking where the entrance and the exit of the parking.
Yeah, I'd like to I get the impression that this is maybe a little not to scale, because your driveway is along the north side, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay. So this would be on the south side of your driveway.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a standard for submitting drawings, and that this kind of a drawing, to be honest, is not acceptable.
Okay.
We want to see it at least to scale. I mean, it doesn't have to be drawn on a computer by any stretch, but at least a drawing to scale that shows this.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, like I said, what you want to do is probably fine. Nobody, we're not disagreeing with what you want to do. We just need to have it documented more clearly.
And I get that you say you're not increasing your traffic, but I think, there's one thing to have picnic tables loosely distributed wherever you want to put them. Once you build a structure, that's now a destination. And I would feel like we're setting a bad precedent if we didn't check that against, vehicle traffic versus foot traffic, and, what concerns there could be, because whenever you say what's the worst that could happen, that's what happens.
Okay, well, I mean, I'd be happy to submit a more detailed drawing with, exactly to scale and so forth.
I would assume whoever, well, I know architectural programs are slightly different, but whoever worked with you on this may be able to help you with a more to scale site plan.
Okay,
I mean, if Mr. Nyhart just sketched that in with a pencil on that first drawing, he certainly has the capabilities to give you a good drawing to scale.
no, that was me. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but we could definitely do better.
Okay.
John,
Quinlan,
to
Tom
follow
Quinlan.
up on Mark Dunn's statement, certainly we've gone through something like this before at Echelon, where it was just going to be an outside serving coffee, and then it was enclosed, and then they put heat in there, and then there was not enough parking. So if
and it's good to see a business grow organically, but it might
Right.
get away from the concerns that we would like to address for everyone's public safety.
Tom Quinlan had a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to, the board's 100% correct. The Chiefs Bank table, when I've been out there, Mr. Carr, the location of that pavilion was right in line with that barn, correct? Whereas now it's showing it more to the north.
That drawing that I have, the barn drawing is not fully up to date because there was an addition made to the barn since that. So the barn is actually a slightly bigger footprint, and it would be in line with the barn if that was the drawing was correct. It's a very rough drawing, so I apologize for that.
I think once you have a drawing with the parking and all, you're showing that this is exactly where the Chief Bank and I had no issues with it. The access, he's going to would move the barrels, but the plan needs to be redrawn because it's not even showing it how the site is now. And I think the board would be happy because it's all where the picnic tables are now, and the fire department will still have the access accepted by Chiefs Bank Naval. So I think it's mainly the drawing that needs to just be redone.
Okay, absolutely.
Okay, that'd be great. I mean, we meet the first and third Tuesday. This is no special hearing. This is just basically a 2 cents from the various boards. So you can come in and just submit the drawing like this a couple days ahead of time, and you should have no problem when you come in again.
Right, I'll do that. Thanks very much.
good. Thank you.
Okay, and next was Lisa Narkowitz.
All right, can I share my screen?
Yes, you can. We're all set for that.
So we're in the beginning stages of discussion with American River Nutrition, which is located on Venture Way. And they want to build, they're calling a shed, but ultimately some kind of storage structure. They indicated they want it as large as they can get it in this general area because they have a overhead door that they can bring a small forklift out to transport these cages. Let me show you. That didn't work. That they put annatto oil in, and they need extra storage. So they're going to want to be able to put something over in this general area. The lot configuration is on the curve of Venture Way. And my question was, would it be allowable to be located in this area? Is that considered side yard or front yard? And can I go 15 feet from setback on the roadway?
It would be considered, it doesn't really matter whether it's considered, because the zoning bylaw specifically says that if a property is on a corner lot, which you could probably call this a corner lot, setbacks in this case shall be observed from all road frontages. So you're in the industrial zone, and I believe you need, was it 60 feet in the industrial zone? Not 50.
So that's going to be considered the front.
It doesn't matter what you call it.
Yeah.
It is gonna be set back as if it was frontage,
Okay.
okay? I mean, that's the way the bylaw specifically reads.
Yeah, if you had a side property lot, but you're,
If you're in a corner lot, you need to observe setbacks from all road frontages. And in the industrial zone, front setback is 50 feet, so you're gonna be 50 foot from both the front and the side, because that's just the way this bylaw is specifically written.
All right. Then doesn't look like they can do what they want to do.
Well, not in that location, they would have to move it someplace else, that's.
Yeah, the lot is, the majority of it is wetland. It's a large lot, but I guess maybe if they could deal with over here, but they have deliveries come in. So I'll have to relook at trying to get it further away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to be difficult here, but that's the way the bylaw is,
Yep.
like I said, it is specific.
Can I ask, how tall can an accessory building be?
Same thing as the main building.
Main building? Okay. And would a special permit be needed because it's in a aquifer protection zone to file for this storage building?
That's not exactly an easy answer to say.
Okay.
And I don't want to get too complex here. If it's under 10% of the main building size, the planning board has the ability to waive site plan approval for any special permits.
Okay.
The only thing that you might need a special permit for is the kind of waste you are storing in that building. I believe from the way you're describing it, it's a organic waste.
It's a food grade oil is what was presented when the building was first built.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the point that gets a little bit sticky. You're in the aquifer, I believe you're in the aquifer recharge area. So that would be a little bit of a point that would need some further discussion. Would it need a special permit just to store that? But for the building itself, probably you should be okay, because that's certainly going to be less than 10% of the building
So
by appearance.
we did full site plan approval and business use in the aquifer special permits when this was first developed. We can do an amendment of that decision perhaps, and might or might not require reopening the public hearing depending on, as Jim said, what you got there, how big it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's a bit of a predicament that we're not against what you want to do. We're just gonna make sure that everybody is in compliance. That's all. I mean,
Understood.
even if it's a special permit, you'd probably be approved. It's just a matter of going through the motion.
Okay.
Right.
And no ability to get a waiver on the setback or variance.
The planning board cannot issue a waiver. That would be a ZBA variance.
Okay.
You know, you're creating your own hardship here. It appears, and I'm not sure you'd have standings for a variance on those conditions.
Okay.
Would it not, it won't slide to the west?
What was that?
Could the proposed location not slide to the west so it's further from the,
Closer to the, there's a 35-foot no disturb zone. There's wetlands.
I mean,
Yeah, this is all wetlands, and then this is the 35-foot no disturb zone. I was trying to keep it outside the 100-foot buffer zone, so they wouldn't have to go to conservation, but I don't, yeah.
got it.
But I can look at other options for them and bring it back to you.
I mean, building within the 100-foot buffer zone, even though you got to go to the conservation, may be a better option. I mean, we have the lady from the conservation is on this call. Maybe she has some comments about that.
Hello, I'm Kayla, conservation agent. Yeah, you could
Hi.
definitely build within the 100 feet. You would just have to get a permit from the Conservation Commission. You could probably do that with an RDA. I don't think you
Okay.
would have to do an NOI. I'm not sure if that gets you to the 60 feet though
Right.
From the lot line.
Yeah. And the other question that they had was that they feel that they have far too much parking, and we're talking about, possibly placing it on all or a portion of this. I kind of did an option for them where I showed it kind of being over a portion of that parking lot. I didn't want to put it on all of the parking lot because there is a need to be able to access this door with smaller deliveries. What would have to be done to eliminate parking spaces?
So we amended,
Very good question. Several years ago, town meeting passed a special parking regulation for the industrial zone. You are in the industrial zone. You can come, even though you are grandfathered under the old stuff, you certainly have the right to amend your parking to the updated bylaw. And that requires far less parking, realizing that if you need a deed restriction on your property that says this can only be an industrial building, which probably isn't a big deal because it is what it is. But many industrial properties, 2-for-1 parking is way too much. Basically, you need parking for your employees, a few customers, and delivery vehicles.
Yeah.
And I would guess that you probably are in the same situation here. You probably have very few customers coming to the place. An occasional visitor for sure, no doubt. And you have far less parking, far more parking than you need. So you may be able to put that building smack dab in one of your parking areas without a problem.
Okay.
I would go online to the Hadley zone bylaw. They are available at the Hadley website, and there is a section on parking in the industrial zone, and take a look at it.
Now, I believe we filed this, I want to say 2012. So it's been updated as to the requirements from then?
Yes, in the last, 3 or 4 years?
Yeah, the parking was changed several years ago. And like I says, the parking has become far less parking in the industrial zone than the old bylaw.
Okay,
So you have the right to change.
Yeah. It has-
I would say it was probably 2022 when we
okay.
amended it.
Yeah, and I've got the order of conditions here, which I'm trying to see, 2014 was when we went through all the process of planning and conservation.
And it was revised and made much more practical.
Okay. I will look at that.
Mm.
All right, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, and that is everyone who is here for the public comment or the office hours.
Is Lisa still on? No, she's gone. Okay. Okay, Bill, here's one for you. It was spring of 2020 that we amended it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I remember sitting outside. We had the meeting at the Hopkins Fields.
Right.
Well, it was rather warm.
Okay. We amended it to a minimum of 10,000. Okay, any building over 10,000 square feet, one space for every employee on shift, yada, yada. And it gives a definition of parking area, parking for industrial vehicles, delivery. But that is far less than the 2 for 1. So.
Yeah.
5 years ago. Home flies. Okay.
I was gonna mention to her that at 30 by 55, I might not call it a shed. I might call it a small warehouse, but that's perhaps neither here nor there.
Okay, let's see. Miss Attorney Reedy. Senior housing. We got your changes. The public hearing is scheduled for April 1. Wow. First Tuesday in April. And the first publication was in yesterday's Gazette, so we're on track with that. And what is the publication? $900 and something, but it's also a larger one. It does appear from what we have been hearing. Your buddy?
Yeah.
It does appear from what we've been hearing that Zoom will be it probably won't be permanently extended, but it will be temporarily extended to the end of, was it June, Bill?
June of 2027.
The state evidently doesn't think that they're requesting, there's legislature you're probably aware of to extend Zoom and hybrid, et cetera, permanently, but it's tied up with some other articles, for lack of a better term, and they don't expect those to be taken up evidently in the too near future and everything passed at once. So they've given this, half the powers to be have passed it. It's only need one more, and that was supposed to be taken up, I think, Thursday. And they expect that to be temporarily extended so that we'll be at least good for 2 more years. So this public hearing will continue to be Zoom.
Good. All right. So what I'll do is I'll just share my screen quickly. These are things that I had sent in last week, and I think Jim sent them along to the town clerk, and they've been advertised, but I'll just run through them here. Not to treat this as the public hearing, but just to give everybody a preview. So the first, hopefully you're seeing and I'll make it a little bit bigger. So just warrant article. So the warrant article has 2 pieces. If you want to take them up as separate, we can talk about that. But what I did here was just say to see if the town will amend the official zoning map to update the name of the following areas. The first one is the land currently within the senior housing overlay district, identified as the land bounded on the south by Russell, on the east by State Route 116, to the north by Rocky Hill, and to the west by North Maple, as more fully shown in the attached map, to be named the Rural Senior Housing Overlay District. So that's this area that was just approved at last town meeting, and then the Attorney General just recently approved it. Thanks for that, Jim. And then second, the land currently within the Senior Housing Overlay District, but not included in that, and I can reverse this, Rural Senior Housing Overlay District, as more fully shown in the attached map, to be named the Central Senior Housing Overlay District. And this is the screenshot of the map that is from your GIS system of what would be now the Central Senior Housing Overlay District. So that's that warrant article. So I'll stop sharing that one. I won't show you, or maybe I will show you just quickly so you can see it, and then I'll go to the so what you should see now is the zoning bylaw amendment as it relates to the Senior Housing Overlay District language. I'm just going to stop right here, and then I'm going to go back to the one that has the changes. So it's just to see if the town will amend section 27 of the Hadley zoning bylaw as follows. I could put something like to eliminate the current in its entirety and to substitute with the following. If you'd like, that's not a problem. And then the next screen I show you will have all the red lines. All of those red lines have been accepted in this final document. So when and if town meeting approves it, they are approving section 27 in its entirety, inclusive of the changes, which include, as you'll see, Jim's, when I went through them, they were just capitalization changes to special permit and senior housing development, and then substantive changes that we've talked about for the past 3 or so months. So I will show you that last one. And so this is the Senior Housing Overlay District. You see everything in red is a change. And so, you've got capitalization here, capitalization, and then you start to get into the substance of it. Senior Housing Overlay District shall consist of the areas specified as central and rural. Collectively, the central and rural shall be known as the Senior Housing Overlay District. So we didn't have to go through and change all of the references. And then we say all provisions shall apply to both central and rural unless specifically stated otherwise. That's just something to pay attention to as you're reviewing them to make sure that this does what you want it to do. Again, capitalization. Here we've got buildings containing more than 4 dwelling units are allowed by special permit in the central senior housing. So that excludes the rural, but rural allows single, duplex, triplex, quadruplet, congregate care, assisted living, accessory retail. That's how it is currently. So there's no change there. We're just allowing kind of in addition in the central, the buildings containing more than 4 dwelling units. Again, capitalizations. Here's the density. So in the rural, this is what exists currently, 1 dwelling unit per 7260 and 14 bedrooms per acre, up to 5 bedrooms per acre permitted by right. And then we get down to in the central, 1 dwelling per 4350, unless waived in the discretion of the board upon a finding that the project would not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, then as such, a maximum was not exceeded. 10%, which it's currently at 5%, capitalization, maximum dwelling, no building shall contain greater than 50 dwelling units, except that in a rural senior, no building shall contain greater than 4. So again, keeping rural different than central. Capitalization, again, in the rural only restricting no more than 50% shall be 4, and at least 10% shall be single and 2. That obviously doesn't apply to central. 2 spaces per dwelling unit. This applies to all, unless reduced by the planning board upon a showing of alternative transportation access. Guest parking, 1 space per 4. Again, unless reduced by the planning board. Common facility parking. It is what it is unless modified by the planning board. That's for both districts. Capitalization, project maintenance. Again, management company in the case of rental units. This is just to contemplate it not being a condominium where there's a bunch of unit owners and a condo trust. This allows a company to manage capitalization, and then footprint limitation within the central senior housing, which exists within the village center. Section 19.2.9.2 may be waived, and that's the footprint restriction upon a determination, which we talked about, that the appearance of the building is suitable for the neighborhood, taking into consideration without limitation, setback, shielding, landscaping, and massing. Capitalization, 15% of total site supersedes the underlying zoning district, so that this overlay controls capitalization. This is the waiver provision. Procedure for issuance of the special permit shall be as follows, provided, however, the planning board may waive any requirement when the board judges such action is in the public interest and not inconsistent with the senior housing overlay bylaw. Capitalization, and that's it. So somewhat of a handful of items, substantive, otherwise just format. I'm ready for you, Mark.
Okay. Mr. Chair, mind if I speak?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
Is there any way that, going back to that footprint limitation, where you put in the things I was concerned about so that we wouldn't be arbitrary and capricious? That language at the end, is there any way that could be referenced to other spots where you say unless determined by the, I feel like that somewhat defends our ability to waive. Now I'm just wondering, and you and our honorable secretary clerk would know better as the Esquire attorneys, but is that one spot enough? I mean, this seems like the code as written or as amended gives us this justification to waive on the footprint. And I just wondered if that last couple lines, suitable for the neighborhood, taking into consideration without, the setback, the shielding, the landscaping, the massing when viewed for public ways, there was a way to, instead of just repeating that, would there be merit to somehow reference that kind of ability to waive, like when you had your density or other, there were a couple other spots where you said unless otherwise modified by the planning, right?
Yeah, so I think it's probably good to go just kind of section by section with what you're talking about. So here we've got, you try to link it to what you're waiving, right?
Yeah.
So here it's parking, per dwelling, guest, and common facility. And so I just tried to tie it to a showing of alternative transportation access because,
Okay. Yeah.
right, so why you're waiving it? Because, well, you showed us that there's enough elsewhere, either, other modes of transportation. This one doesn't have any waiver ability. This one does have waiver ability, the 4350, and it's a finding that it's not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood, which is, Bill can tell you as well, it's a little bit of a term of art. Like there are standard definitions of that, or there is case law out there which you can interpret to say, or have we exceeded our authority in judging whether or not this is substantially more detrimental to the neighbor? Like, what is the neighborhood? Is what we're doing substantially more, or would allowing it be substantially more detrimental?
So it's in case law and we don't need to articulate it there.
Right, that tracks the language of what the zoning board of appeals does when they're making a finding that a modification or expansion of a pre-existing non-conforming use is allowable if it is not substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood. So that tracks statutory language.
Okay. Excellent.
And then I don't know that there's anywhere else that has the waiver ability. So except there's that one procedural section, and I think what we've said there is like doesn't frustrate, it's in public interest and not inconsistent with the bylaw. So these are things like, okay, do you need to have a pre-application? Do you need to have a conceptual plan? So I could imagine somebody coming before you. I mean, any developer is going to want to have a early conversation with you before they spend real money in having this design. But then when we get into, certain topography, certain vegetated cover or trees, they may say, hey, listen, are we going to need to do this? We're not taking any trees down. And so this, you just didn't have any ability to waive it. And so this at least gives you the ability to waive it as long as you think that it's, like I said here, it's in the public interest and not inconsistent with the bylaw overall.
Okay.
And that is language that tracks language in the subdivision regulations and a couple of other places in the zoning bylaw.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Reedy. Thank you, Mr. Dwyer. I feel
Just for a quick example, Mark, like where they're going to be putting this is relatively flat. Their proposal, others may be different. And to put in a bunch of topography lines is, one is going to suffice it. We don't need a bunch of stuff delineating something that's probably changing elevation by, I doubt it's going to be more than 1.5 feet.
Right.
So.
As for Mr. Roberts' project, we're going to want to see topography because that directly affects drainage.
But again, normally topography lines are at some depending 5 or a few feet. Well, sometimes when they put in, depending on the steepness of the property, all you do see is a solid piece because you can't even, there's so much of a difference in elevation that they need to be in a much different topography. So you got to have some reasonable ways to make it make sense.
I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, the way this is presented is the way it's proposed to be on a warrant. At least at the public hearing, if we get comments, we can address it before the town meeting, and we'll see what happens.
So, Tom, I would not worry about the actual preamble there.
Okay.
Town council will tweak those to be consistent across the warrant.
Great. Perfect. Thank you. Okay.
Right.
See you on April Fool's Day.
That's right. Yeah. Let's see.
So yes, the Attorney General did approve the zoning map changes, but they are still sitting on the accessory dwelling bylaw. The clerk did raise a concern when we first approved the 40R study committee. I think we optimistically hoped it would do its business in a year. I'm going to make a motion to set the term of the 40R study committee to run until a proposed enabling bylaw is presented at the town meeting for approval.
Not to exceed 10 years. Would second that.
Motion in a second. You want to write that up, Bill? You want me to write it up?
I'll write it up because I have to bring that to Jessica.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussions? Hearing none. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Dunn, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Samansky, aye.
Waldrop, aye.
Roddick, aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We did get an invoice for the legal notice that just appeared in the Gazette that I mentioned yesterday. However, Mr. Reedy has volunteered to pay for it because it is primarily his client's reason that we had that bylaw or that legal notice. So I forwarded the invoice to him. They'll take care of it and we don't have to worry about it.
We did get a invoice in. I think I sent it around from Mark attended, and perhaps you want to say a few words about it. The Citizen Planner Training Consortium all-day spring meeting.
Yeah, the collaboratives, their annual conference, there were 3 sessions. I attended the ADU session. That was 90 minutes of, fire hose at you. But it was good. I took notes. I will scan those and send those around to everyone. I think the second one I did. I know the third one was writing good decisions. Not that I think we haven't, but I'm always trying to be mindful of, as you can tell, about I don't want Joe calling me out as being arbitrary and capricious. So, but yeah, I was glad I went. It was a nice day. If you've never been to Holy Cross, bring your hiking boots. It's a sloped campus. The speakers were good. The ADU section was given by I'm forgetting her name now, but I've got it. She was from HLC, from the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. And her assistant in talking was her staff member. So they were the ones that wrote it. So it was good. I did ask them at one, when we got to question and answer, I said, so we can't limit them against, to prohibit students in any way? She said, no, you can't prohibit them for income level or age. Our hands are tied, but she pointed out it's only 900 square feet and you have, boards of health to limit how many can occupy space like that. I don't know. I will share my notes.
Now, I was going to send the invoice around, but do you remember what it was? I just can't find it off.
It was $95 conference,
I'll make a motion to reimburse Mark $95.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? Roll call vote.
Do I have to abstain?
No, well, you can if you want to.
I have an interest in this.
Okay, maybe you should. Dwyer, aye.
Maximovsky, aye.
Waldrop, aye.
Grodnick, aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with one abstention. Just get that to Kayla, Mark. And
Thank you. Yep,
she can submit it and get you a check.
thank you. Thank you all.
Just put on there what account number to use, that's all. Mr. Quinlan, do you have anything?
We should extend our appreciation to Mr. Quinlan for his service as Hadley's building inspector and most importantly, as its zoning enforcement officer, as he leaves for other
Endeavors.
opportunities.
No, I did not know this.
I sent around the HR director sent an email out this afternoon.
Oh, I haven't checked. Okay.
So
Much appreciated for your assistance and your cooperation with the planning board, Mr. Quinlan.
Same here. I couldn't have done the job without you. I really appreciate all the support and all your knowledge. Made the job I'm gonna miss you guys.
Yeah, same here.
Gonna miss you. You still available for 2 cents comments here and there?
Always.
what are you going to do on Tuesday nights?
I don't know.
What else are you gonna do on Tuesday nights?
Not sure.
Okay. We have nothing else.
I have one thing. I have the Mylar for the Breckenridge subdivision in my office. Jim or Bill, if you could come sign that.
Yeah, I forgot all about signing it.
Yeah. I did have an email with the developer. Is there something on the Mylar that's says this incorporates all agreed changes?
I haven't opened it, honestly. It's rolled up.
Okay, we'll take a look at it.
Sounds good.
I don't know if you're interested. We did hold our first
40R.
Yeah, our first smart growth committee meeting with the new arrangement. We had it last Monday and 2 of the 3 couldn't make it. But we're thus going to shift it to the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays from 5 to 6:30 so that everyone can attend. And so we're gonna get going on that.
Okay,
That's all I have.
very good.
Nat, did you want to say anything about your plans?
Yeah, I did. I guess I emailed Bill and Jim, but I guess Mark and Joe don't know yet. My term, I was filling in for, I forget what the gentleman's name was who I was filling in for. Yeah, until May, but I'm having a lot of issues lately, just juggling my single dad duties with my work promotion, and I'm trying to simplify my life a little bit. So I've decided not to rejoin or run, I guess, in May. But several years from now, if my life slows down, I'd certainly, be open to joining again. But I'm going to finish out my term. I'll be here till May, so you'll have me until then. But I just wanted to let you guys know, and thank you very much for your guidance. And I've learned a lot from you all. I still love Hadley. I'll still be here. But I just wanted to let you all know that. So if there's a plan to replace me or have folks run come May, we can plan ahead a little bit for that.
Yes.
It's up to whoever decides to take out papers. I have notified the other 3 people that were at the, if you would, runner-ups to you about this, and we'll see what happens.
Great.
Yeah, well, good luck, and it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you again until May. So,
Yeah, we got a few more meetings yet.
yeah,
For the short time you're on it, we appreciate your input. You put some good stuff in. You've learned quickly. And thank you.
I don't
You're
know
welcome.
what, I don't know what we teach you, except maybe what not to do, but okay.
That's important too. It's a healthy way to learn.
I have nothing else.
Anything else, Bill?
Nothing else.
I have nothing. Anybody else have anything?
We make a motion to adjourn.
So second.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Roll call vote.
Done, aye.
Dwyer, aye.
Samansky, aye.
Walter, bye.
Rodnick, aye.
Motion passes. This meeting is history. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Kyla. Bye-bye. Good night.
Night all.
Good.